chilling. Today we've got ourselves another MLB The Show Draft Only Franchise stream here. One thing I forgot to do before I started the stream, let me do it real quick. But we've got ourselves, I forgot to put a thumbnail here on the stream as well, it looks like. So I'll have to fix that here shortly. But for today's stream, I am planning on finishing up the regular season. That means we've got 2 months to go through here on this stream. And in addition, of course, here at the beginning, I am planning on taking a look at just how good we did in this most recent draft. I think we had a pretty decent draft, but the ratings will have to tell. One thing to look out for here in this stream is we've got a potential triple crown season for Neil Dorsey on deck. Now, if the season ended today, he would not have the triple crown, and we'll take a look at where he ranks in the league in just a moment here. But having an absolutely insane season, currently the favorite to win his second consecutive MVP. How's it going, Daniel Barry? Well, let's take a look at where he ranks in the league here. I went to the wrong thing. So for the NL batting average, there are 2 players currently ahead of Neil Dorsey, but he is very close at 331. Christopher Kane, I remember him. He's a draft pick here in this series, and he is going insane. He was a first baseman without a ton of power, but boy, can this man get on base, and he's doing so in a major way so far this season. Yeah, 310 for New York last year. Awesome pick by them, switch hitter as well. And then Trey Turner also has a .001 lead over Dorsey, but certainly I think within striking distance of being able to take tops in batting average. You take home runs, he's also not top there right now. He is in 3rd place. Casas and Jazz Chisholm, playing for the Reds here in this series, are ahead of him, but again, easily within striking distance, just 2 away. On RBI, he has pretty much a 20 RBI lead over the next highest player, so I think he's got that one in the bag. If he can take the lead here in home runs, could take the lead over here in hits, in average, we could be talking about a very special season from Dorsey, and that would pretty much guarantee him his second consecutive MVP. I think we're far enough into the stream that it's allowed some people to hop in, so let's now take a look. Let's simulate August 1st. Let's take a look at just how good we did here in the drafts. Okay. Initial reaction, not maybe as good as you'd hope, but not looking bad here. So our number 1 pick number 29 overall, ends up being 74 overall with 91 potential. Pitcher clutches at 52. That's pretty good. His per-9s are in an excellent spot. It's really the control that's not good with this player. His durability is in a good spot as well, but I think that's a good closer or a good bullpen arm, and somebody that I think could play very early on. Maybe not next year, but I think could get the call up after 1 year of development in the minors, at least to get that control into the 40s. Has got to be, something that we're looking to do here before we ask him to play a big role, in the playoffs. Now, Fernando Bonilla here ends up below his ranges. He was supposed to be at minimum 72 overall with 79 potential, and ends up being 70 overall with 77 potential. Starting at 70 overall is still very good, and he's got 3 per-9s at least 70 already. So you love to see that. Throws not quite as hard as I was hoping he would. Well, but he's a lefty. Doesn't have the upside that you were wanting. I was hoping, we could get at least low B here with Fernando Bonilla. Ends up just our scout was wrong on him. We've had our scout be too low on a player before. This is, I think, the first time in the series where the scout was wrong and he was too high on him. He ends up below his range entirely. Not a bust, I would say, but certainly probably not going to have the impact that we were hoping that he would. Jose Vergara ends up 64 overall, 81 potential. His plate skills need a lot of work. He does not have plate skills whatsoever. All three of them exactly at 36 is kind of funny. But his power's in the 50s. He's a really good fielder with a strong arm. Maybe not necessarily accurate at this point in time, but I'm pretty happy with that pick. Leland Olson ends up being 75 overall with 87 potential. Probably our second best pick after Miguel Dominguez. Really good hits per 9. His pitcher clutch ends up being in the 50s as well. That's good enough. His fastball being 87. This guy just reminds me so much of Devin Smeltzer. Not a strikeout pitcher. Good enough stamina. And other than strikeouts per 9, he looks pretty good everywhere else. And of course, velocity is not in a great spot. His durability is 48. That's not great. What do we have with Vergara? 63 is okay. 65 was okay. Stuart Castro ends up being a 68 overall with 73 potential. That's pretty much what I expected with him. We were taking him past the top 100 really to just be a boon for our minor league team, but he has the potential to maybe someday be a backup infielder with a little bit of position versatility about him. Iwamura, not great here, but again, these guys we really just took to be minor leaguers. But Matt Rozier is absolutely terrible. That might be the worst pick I've made, because I know we had a couple of busts last year, but they were because of injury. These last two rounds, we did not have much to choose from. Bernstein is better though, a pretty wide margin. 58 overall with 76 potential isn't atrocious. But man, hits per 9, home runs per 9, and pitcher clutch. That combination is pretty dang rough. Ultimately, I think Miguel Dominguez will play a role here in this series. Bonilla might. Vergara, I think, is what I was wanting in my backup catcher. And Leland Olson is probably now, in play as being one of our main lefties, especially once we get rid of Devin Smeltzer. So I think, with our top 100 picks, we did pretty dang good, but it's time to take a look around the league. Have you considered next year's rebuild? Also, if you win the World Series, will you take a break? I'm planning on taking a break no matter what happens when and College Football 25 comes out. I pretty much want to do a week of just that game, no matter kind of where it is. Typically, when a new game comes out, I like to take at least a week to really try to gain some momentum on a series. That's the best time for my channel to grow. And so when a new game comes out, I like to focus on it for at least a week. And we're pretty deep into this franchise. We'll be, 70 episodes in or close to it by the time College Football 25 comes out. I do want to take some time in this stream to talk about College Football 25. I've been having a very, very, very difficult time figuring out who I want to do for College Football 25. And I just kind of want to talk through some of my thoughts on it with you guys. But that'll be at the very end of the stream. For those who are just here for MLB The Show, I'll save that for the end. Have I thought about who I'm doing next year? Not even a little bit. Like I just kind of said, I don't even know who I'm doing for a game that comes out in a week. I wanted to be in a tough division though. Maybe in the division of the Braves and the Phillies, one of those other teams. So let's take a look around the league here. Mark Little's a pretty solid closer here. This is a good pick. He's 22 years old, but 95 potential starting in the 60s. A little bit later in the draft. I think the Dodgers have to be thrilled with that pick. This guy's already 75 overall, but he's going to instantly regress. Same with that guy. 72 overall with 85 potential. Our division's making some good moves here. And 74 overall, but will regress. Good potential here, but he won't be anything in this series. Buddy Fernandez, 61 overall, 86 potential. Another really solid pick. This is probably the best our division has drafted in a single season, just kind of consistency wise. Like, everybody had a good pick. I guess we haven't seen who the Diamondbacks drafted, and they drafted Andrew Cabrera, who's the best of them all. 66 overall, 93 potential. Considering who they've been able to get in free agency as well, I mean, the Diamondbacks might be a problem as we continue to advance in the years here in this series. Overall, a really good draft by the division. I don't think a single team in our division had a bad draft. And the Dodgers whiffed on their first round pick, but they made up for it with the King pick. I'm hyped for NCAA, but I love the drafting of men. So yeah, I almost didn't do man this year, but I bought the MVP package, so it has both games. So I plan on doing some man this year as well. I like drafting as well. It's my favorite thing. Although recruiting is also very fun. I would argue sometimes even more fun than drafting. So I'll be playing both pretty heavily, I would imagine. Any other picks stand out here? We got a good closer in Johnson here going to the Red Sox. That's a terrible first round pick by New York. Let's go. Screw New York. I mean, I'm not even like a massive like baseball watcher. I know New York is very hated, but this series has taught me to hate New York. Vern Buckner, he was somebody that we discovered. He was one of the top 10 ranked players by our scouts, and that looks like they did a pretty good job here. His pitcher clutch is really low, though, which is unfortunate for him. Good stamina, and other than his pitcher clutch, pretty well-rounded player, though. Home runs per 9 are also a little low. Fernando Ruiz, solid here from the White Sox. They had themselves a really solid start to this draft. Harry Armstrong ends up being 63 overall with 95 potential. He was picked at 104, and we had the 105th pick, and we would have taken him. Got absolutely sniped of being able to snag a good pitcher. A little bit more of a long-term project, already 21 years old, probably somebody that would have only played for us in the long-term sim, but we need players to play for us in the long-term sim. Sergio Tapia, maybe the best player so far, not the highest potential, but starting already as a 72 with a really well-rounded skill set, just doesn't provide you speed. And the power is not elite by any means, but it's not bad either. The contact is really good, the plate skills are really good, and the fielding is good as well. Sergio Tapia could probably play next year for the Guardians. If he was on my team, you know, he'd get 1 year development, but I imagine the Guardians might call him up instantly. Anyone else here draft? Yeah, I do that all the time. I've done it here in this series. And even if I don't change their position, I'll just put them in the bullpen. But sometimes I will just change their position if their skill set is like not quite compatible with a closing pitcher. This is not a good draft by Detroit. I'll do it all the time. I turn starting pitchers into relief pitchers, and I turn closers into relief pitchers. It's perfectly fine doing that. I think it's pretty realistic. A lot of time in baseball, relievers are just failed starters. Enrique Vega here starts at 73, has 83 potential. Gonna hit righties really well. Gonna draw some walks. That's a really solid pick there by Houston. Didn't get any blue potentials, but also didn't get anything below a green, which is, I suppose, it's impressive. Robert Bolich was one of the discovery guys that I wanted to take later in the class. He just didn't last because the Angels liked his long-term potential, despite the fact that it will take quite some time to get there. We got Sammy Swigum. I mean, A+ pick based on name alone. Sammy Swigum. I'm jealous. I wish I had drafted Sammy Swigum, even though we have absolutely no need for him. Absolutely incredible name. Maybe I'll change one of my recruits in college football 25 to Sammy Swigum. Hans Zimmer, speed, defense, hits righties a little bit. Switch hitter, 22 years old. Solid pick. This draft is actually pretty good. This wouldn't have been a bad draft to pick a little higher in, or have a little bit sooner in our rebuild. Nobody's like insanely good, but there are a lot of really solid players in this class. Tom Fontenot. So we got 63 overall with 81 potential in Jose Vergara. Tom Fontenot comes in 2 overall lower, but with 6 higher potential. The thing with Fontenot, their play skills are actually pretty similar. Vergara's are more, balanced, where he has higher vision but lower discipline. But those contact numbers, contact versus right being 29, it's pretty rough. And Vergara has a much stronger arm. Fontenot's is more accurate. And then, I said it in the draft episode, but the fact that Vergara could play positions other than catchers ultimately will put him over the edge. I think if you would have taken Fontenot over Vergara, you'd feel good about that pick. I think if you took Vergara over Fontenot like we did, you'd feel good about that pick. I think both were solid, like B+ catcher prospects. So ultimately, I think I'm happy with the Vergara pick. Whoops, that was an accident. The Mets here got a 74 overall here. Not going to get much better though. We got a 92 potential, 61 overall. Okay, a really good selection here. A little bit older for sure, but switch hitter again. Can't play a lick of defense. Look at that heat map against righties though. That guy might develop really well against righties. The Cubs got a good closer. Also got a pretty decent second baseman here. Good on base guy. Another switch hitter. This draft had a ton of switch hitters that were pretty decent prospects too. Especially because both of these guys had potential to be good. Just didn't sign either of them. Good starter here, Pedro Castro. He was the guy that I like. He just didn't have the stamina. His home run sprint is also pretty low. Josh Gross, okay pick there. Ortega, pretty solid. Good draft, honestly. Good drafts. And there you have it. We're back to our division. I would say this is probably one of the deeper drafts I've seen. Like, there were a lot of like B+ or A- position players. There weren't any A's or A+. Andrew Cabrera might be the best player in this class with 66 overall and 93 potential. Best combination of has some win now traits, but also has good upside. So overall, good draft. For us, it was solid. Still had one of the best drafts in the league. This might be the first year, though, that we didn't have the best draft in the league, though. There were some good drafts out there. Ours was still decently, consistently good until you get to the very end, of course, but our first, I think, 5 picks were good, which I'll take. I'll take this late into a franchise series. So that's the first thing we wanted to do here in this stream. The second thing we want to do is start to go through the season. We're going to do so with critical situations. I'm going to crank these all the way up to the very top. Also, of course, going to have player highlight moments on. Both innings will be set to 8, and we'll see. We're not going to hop into every single critical situation. That might take forever. I'm trying to do probably like 4 or 5 critical situations here to end off the season. Home team down by 2. Lozano has the bases loaded. Can we come out with the dub? That's a pretty high leverage situation here for Lozano. This is a great song, by the way. I love this song, but we don't need to hear it anymore as we're heading into the gameplay portion of things. Oh, I'm throwing a pitch. I have not thrown a single pitch in MLB The Show 24, and I don't know how to do it. I've never thrown a pitch using those settings. All right, let's let the CPU do the work like we've let it do this entire 64 episodes. Bottom of the 8th, 2 outs. Bases loaded for George Calderon. I guess I can't look at him right now. He's gonna pop it up. Clemente Herrera will haul it in. And Lozano able to pitch out of the jam. I don't even know if that was his own jam that he was pitching out of. Could have been subbed in that tough spot, but comes through. Let's return to simulating here. And will come out victorious, Robbie Barreto. First look at him in a Rockies uniform. A little dicey there towards the end, but the Rockies pull it out. 2 for 4 for Veen with a home run. And Barreto ends up picking up the victory. 8-5. It goes to extra innings. So a lot of action late by this Angels offense. Not a good showing for the bullpen, it looks like, which isn't great. Another critical situation against the Angels. I think we'll simulate that one. We got to be a little bit pitched. Dorsey has a 19-game hitting streak on the line. See if he can extend it. I think you can tell why he's in the running for the Triple Crown.
Leading off for the Rockies.
4 for 11 with 3 home runs here in this series. That's fun. Looks like I got to take a pitch. Also never used the PCI before.
No, that's outside.
I feel like I got it pretty good, though, on that pitch. All right. 1-0 pitch. 0 for 3 today. 19-game hitting streak. By him at 98 miles an hour. Already hit 3 homers against the Brewers. Can we make it 4? Been too many episodes in a row without a Dorsey home run for my liking. I like the subtle change to his batting stance to open up just a little bit. Nice subtle change. Still a pretty closed stance altogether. But now you can actually see both of his feet. Right over the middle of the plates. Hit hard, but it's right at Monasterio. That is an unfortunate way to end your hitting streak. I mean, it had the velocity to be a base hit for sure. And the Rockies get shut out here by Milwaukee. At home, you don't love to see that. Sterling Thompson had a couple of hits at least. To make matters worse, Dorsey also gets the loss on the mound. Herb Reyes has a shutout going. How many hits has he allowed? 4? We've already hopped into a couple. We'll hop into this one. They've been pretty short so far. Herb Reyes. Big time decision about whether or not he's going to get playing time here in the playoffs. Let's see. His energy is still pretty good. 89 pitches into this game. I think he's got a good chance here. Rockies with a 6-0 lead and instantly allows a hit. I'm a little skeptical as to whether or not Herb Reyes should be playing for us in the playoffs. Well documented just how bad he was last year. I don't know if his development this year has been good enough to feel confident that it'll be much different here And as soon as we start watching, he allows back-to-back singles.
Now batting, first baseman, Miller.
At this point, you just got to be hoping for a double play. If you're Reyes, or a strikeout, one of the two. Nice cutter there. We added that pitch to his mix in the offseason. He was a starter with just 3 pitches, which isn't something you see very often. That could be the double play ball you need. And there you have it. The 5-4-3 ground ball double play. And just like that, he's an out away from a complete game shutout. This would be his 2nd of the season. Barreto has 2. Herb Reyes already with 1 on the board. Trying to take that tie for the team lead. Can he do it in under 100 pitches? Should be something he can accomplish here. That one's hit hard, and it's going to drop down in the outfield. The complete game shutout is broken up with 2 gone already in the 9th. 3rd hit allowed in 4 batters. Proving just why I'm skeptical of him being a playoff pitcher for us, man. The ratings just aren't there. His pitch per 9 are still in the 40s because he hasn't been getting much development. Like we've seen about everything we need to of this game. Rockies are still come out victorious, of course, as Kopech gets the final outs. Another game where we see Logan Cerny. Every time I hop into a critical situation, Logan Cerny's playing. I mean, I love it for him. I just don't know why our players are starting, you know, outfielders out there more often. Herb Reyes still gets player of the game, deservedly so. You go 8 2/3, a 4-hit day for Sterling Thompson. I mean, Omar Figueroa was on our impact player board with going 0 for 2. So probably not the highest. All right, this one might be our last one of August. We've been getting a lot of critical situations. But I think this is worth hopping in here as well. Down by 1 here in the 9th. It's going to be Sterling Thompson at the plates.
The third baseman, number 2.
He probably has the least secure job in our 9-man lineup right now. But he could certainly help his case here. Driving in the tying or even go-ahead runs. He's hitting .310 with runners in scoring position. That's actually really good, if I saw that right. Certainly not shy here on his swings. It's a pretty awesome sound here by the Reds. This one drops in for a hit. Murillo will hold at 3rd, so the bases are loaded for Ethan Salas. Another lefty-lefty matchup. Salas no hits today. Been having a much better year contact-wise than he did last time, but not so much here in the series against the Reds. Just 3 for 16. Certainly like better than that. One pitch is fouled off again for strike number 2. Popped up into the outfield. Holding the center field, but that should be taggable. The tying run aboard for the Rockies. Salas got the job done. You'd love a base hit there, of course, to get the go-ahead run. but you'll take the tie. Chase Petty substituted in for the Reds. Pinch hitting is Omar Figueroa. It looked like he had a rest day. But here's a look at his numbers. Having a much better year than he did last. Probably our #1 breakout candidate this year. Him or Salas, honestly, is also another guy who's improved a lot. This one tapped over to first. First baseman doesn't want to cover the bag, forces the pitcher to instead, and we are tied. All right. Now we gotta see if Walsh here can finish things off. Bottom of the 10th, 1 out and a man in scoring position. Rich Walsh. Been an up and down rookie campaign for our new closer. This one hauled in by Herrera. Decent throw from right field there, but I think he could have tagged there if he wanted to be aggressive, but no use with 2 outs. So it's Edwin Arroyo. Hit a homer earlier on in this game. And the game rests on his shoulders. We know Walsh has some electric strikeout stuff. Can he show it off here? Fastball comes in around the mid-90s here for Walsh. So he doesn't have the overpowering stuff, but he can still get a lot of strikeouts. Pitch count into the 20 for Walsh. Shouldn't be a problem yet, but we don't want it to get too much higher. But he shouldn't have to go any more than this. There you see the strikeout stuff from Rich Walsh. And it ends the game with a Rockies victory once again. Couple of times now we've seen our bullpen need to come up clutch, and they have. First with Lozano, now with Rich Walsh. Adding a save here onto the board. He gets the win here in this situation. He pitched the final 2 innings. Very interesting. All right, let's get to the end of August here. Unless there's a really, I'd love to do a shutout here, but I think it's just the 8th, so we'll... And Unger might have done it. Herrera has 2 home runs. Hope he got his 3rd. Needs a triple to hit for the cycle. Okay, Herrera's having himself some success here. I don't think we'll hop into that one either. Jeez, Walsh with the bases loaded. And we come out victorious. Walsh showing off some good stuff here. Salas already has 2 home runs today. Hopefully he got his 3rd. And there you have it. We're through August. Now at 85 and 51. Our contact is dropping. We were top 5 earlier on in the year. It's down to 7th, but our power is going up. We're now the 2nd best power team in baseball, and it's time to talk about September call-ups. Who would be best equipped to come up? If we look at our AAA roster, I think there are a few obvious candidates. Salazar being on a cold streak is unfortunate because he was one of the prime candidates. The question here is, do we want Sterling Thompson to play in the playoffs for us, or do we want Rico Salazar? And I know they don't play the same position at all, but if we add Rico Salazar to the squad, we move him to right field, we move Herrera to third base. That's a tough decision. Also want to bring up a pitcher. Anton Hernandez is another guy who's going to be a clear candidate. He's also on a cold streak. But Gordon Pringle, I think, has earned some consideration here. Having a really, really good year of development, and he is a lefty. If we don't feel confident that Herb Reyes can pitch for us in the playoffs, I think we have a lefty that could do it. Anton Hernandez is the other pitcher I could think of. There's also Johnny Brennan. I just kind of view him more as a bullpen arm. But could we add him to the bullpen? I think he'd be a good addition to the bullpen for sure. Need to add 2 players. I think Juan Rocha, 28 home runs so far in AAA. Having an awesome season of development. We got to get him up. The thing is, I was planning, if you would have asked me what my plan was at the beginning of the year, I thought by the end of this season, Juan Rocha was going to be our starting first baseman. The thing is, it's not a problem, even though I might be phrasing it as a problem. Omar Figueroa is playing pretty dang good. Now, his numbers are starting to fall off a little bit. His OPS is now below 900. It was above 900 for most of this year. What about bringing Rocha up and then having just first base be a platoon? Because Figueroa is much better against lefties than he is righties. His contact is 20 better. His power is 14 better. That still almost feels like benching Omar Figueroa, though, because there aren't a ton of lefty starters that you're going to play against. What do you guys think? Should we bring up Rocha and have these guys platoon? Because this is certainly a call-up caliber season from Juan Rocha. 28 homers, 285 average, 3.3 WAR. It's just Figueroa's been good as well, so it's hard to say. Let's make the decision on pitcher first, because I think it's easier. I think it's time to add Gordon Pringle to the 40-man roster. I want to see him pitch. I want to see him pitch at the major leagues. Turn back on the music. That can maybe help me think a little bit. This one's tough. We're starting to get too many good players. Too many good players. It's a tough problem to have, right? Like the Pringle call up. I think that one was the obvious choice at starting pitcher. I honestly think we might also bring up Brennan, because I think it'll be a good addition to the bullpen. Are there other good additions to the bullpen? Bill Myers, worthy of consideration. His strikeouts per nine has gone down a ton. How is 42 strikeouts and 48 in a third inning is not worth -5 strikeouts per nine? That's crazy. It's fine though. McCracken or Dusty Coleman? Not really. So if we want to boost our bullpen prior to the playoffs, maybe get in an upgrade. Salfrank's been good ERA-wise. His whip's fine. Martin has a better whip, but a worse ERA. Lozano's been good. Our bullpen's actually been pretty good. Smeltzer, no surprise there. He's good. Our worst bullpen arm's been Rich Walsh at closer. I don't know if we need the boost to the bullpen right now. I think we let Bill Myers stay. in the minors. I gotta add one. You want to ride with Figgy? How do you keep that in the minors, though? That's my thing. The thing with he can also play corner outfield spots. So we could also just have Rocha take over for Sterling Thompson. Basically the same deal that I said with Clemente moving over to third base. I think Rocha we got to give him an opportunity. He's played so flipping well this season. He's an 81 overall. His ratings are awesome. He also is really good at bunting, which is a fun little thing. We don't have a lot of good bunters. I just think if somebody is playing that well, you gotta give them an opportunity, and we could play them both. Does Omar Figueroa does not have any secondary positions. All right, that's what we're gonna do for now. Reyes hasn't been bad. Dorsey has the worst whip of our pitchers, actually. Which should sim well for sure. I mean, he did sim well this year. Really well. Thing is, who are we benching? Herb Reyes has our second highest ERA, but the lowest whip allowed of our starting pitchers. Oh, wait, just because he's so good at not allowing walks? Unger, you don't want to bench that. Dorsey, we're not benching Dorsey. Barreto, on a cold streak. It's not been his best season, but he's Jose Barreto. He's our future ace. I'm not benching him. I'm just going to do Herb Reyes, even though his whip is good. We know that he's a better sim player than he is a hop into the games and watch him play player. That's just the nature of his ratings. That 90 walks per nine is excellent in sim. Doesn't come out to play as much when you're watching the games. And we're about to go to the playoffs. I want to see Gordon Pringle pitch. When does he pitch? In Houston on the 4th. So that's what we're going to do. It gets us to 28. We're going to need to make some adjustments here. We'll put... need to make some adjustments here now. So who's our best? Let's put you up to AAA for now. Put you up to AA now. Mac Moses, 59 overall is probably good enough. Some of those ratings are still terrible. We'll do that, and then we'll do something like that. All right. Let's watch Gordon Pringle pitch, shall we? Rillo. Bases juiced. 2 home runs today. Let's do it.
Now batting, the shortstop.
Up to 34 home runs. Oh, that is not what I wanted to do. I wanted to do this. Would love a grand slam. I'm actually excited to start watching some full games again. I actually don't know how I'm going to do the playoffs now. I still want to go at I want to go at a faster pace than we did the playoffs last year. I don't know what that means though. Oh, that was the one. That was the pitch, Rafi. Can't crush them all. Now he's going to ground into a double play. It is what it is. Couldn't get a hold of the pitch before, which is really the pitch to do the damage on in the inning. What is... Oh, the Giants ended up beating us. He had 2 home runs in the game, so you can't be too mad at him. There's Jason Lindsay. Loss goes to Devin Smeltzer. Jeez. Valdez. And we've lost 2 to the Giants, but now we get a good game from Unger. Does not complete the shutout. Just wanted to get to this game. I want to see Gordon. We haven't seen Gordon Pringle pitch at all. I want to see his MLB debut. I actually want to. Let's do the black unis. Or the gray pinstripes. Let's do some gray pinstripes. I want to see Pringle start. I also want to see Rocha play a little first base in this game. Don't know if we'll watch the whole Pringle start. We might. If we watch the whole Pringle start, that might be the last bit of gameplay we see. I don't know. Kind of just depends on how long I want the stream to go. We're having fun with the critical situations, so we can keep going a little longer. 39 and 99. The Astros are not good in the year 2030. Pringle will be making his MLB debut, looking good in the gray pinstripes. I don't know if this will also be Roach's debut. I assume he's probably pinch hit at some point.
Leading off the afternoon for Colorado.
Ryan Doe, 22 homers he's up to here on the year. Here we go. Gordon Pringle.
The first baseman.
Can he be the lefty that this team really has needed this entire series long? Herb Reyes was not the guy that we wanted to be last playoffs. I was kind of suspecting it. His low hits per 9 and clutch really make things difficult. Made the trade for Pringle, hoping he could be that really high-end lefty starter. And he's making his debut right here. This one. It's a Kyle Brown on the ground. And there you see Juan Rocha for the first time in a Rockies uniform as well. Let's take a look at his pitch mix after this pitch. I've forgotten what it is. I think he has a 5-pitch mix, doesn't he? As you can see down on the bottom, Neil Dorsey does currently have the NL lead in home runs. He has taken the lead now up to 41 here at the start of September. It would take a really good month, but he could end up with 50 bombs here this year. Let's go find Pringle. He has a 5-pitch mix of 4-seam, cutter, slider, 12-6 changeup. Here are his ratings. Another guy with that mid-90s fastball. Pretty common for this team. Getting ahead of Pena here, 0-2. Got to turn off the music. Pitch number 11 here is strike 3 on that lower outside edge. An excellent way to finish off his first MLB inning. Gordon Pringle. Good first impression. Well, I'll finish with trades. Yes, technically, according to the rules, I can no longer make any trades. In fact, I already broke that rule last offseason, making my 4th trade for Barreto. So we will not be making any more trades. Nice solo homer there from Veen to put the Rockies on the board. See if we can get another good inning here out of Pringle. Pringle was supposed to be the last trade of the series before I decided I was willing to break the rule for the Twin Brothers storyline. Actually, I've yet to see Robbie Barreto pitch, just kind of a factor of us speeding through this season so quickly. Can't really see everybody. Falling behind here 3 and 1. Allows his first walk here to lead off the second. Figueroa Reyes and a minor league player would be a really good package. Yes, it would. It certainly would. And maybe when we do the long-term send, I'll open up trades again. But until we get to that point, we're rocking with what we got. And I think we're in a really good spot. I think we don't really have weaknesses at this point. I think, especially now with the drafting of Leland Olson, nice play there by Rocha. Almost got the double play. Leland Olson, I think we've got now 3 options at lefty starter, which we didn't really have a lot of. But we kind of patched that up with the trade and the drafting of Olson. I don't really see any weaknesses that we would need to fix via trade. So while we can't make any more, I don't think it'll end up being a problem for us. We have contingencies in place for pretty much if anybody starts to suck. We don't want to stick with them long term. We got a backup plan. Just have 85 plus players on the bench. Well, we might have that at some point. I think Benji Avalos is probably going to be like an 85 overall bench bat for us at some point in this franchise. And right now I have a tough time figuring out what to do with like Rocha and Salazar. They should both be playing in the major leagues right now. But if we add Rocha, who else is losing his job? Probably eventually Omar Figueroa because he is maxed out based on his potential. This season might have raised his potential though. Possibly has more of a mid-80s potential now.
Nope, that's the ball.
I haven't looked at it. I try not to look at potential after we draft them. I want to get surprised if it goes up or down. There you go. The cutter by him. On the inside. Gets Rosario swinging. I'm liking what I'm seeing from Pringle, I gotta say. That's really nice. Alberto Lopez, I remember him. He was a discovery first baseman that I wanted. The Astros drafted like 2 first basemen like back to back to start that draft.
That's inside.
Trades ruin franchise. It's way too easy to fleece the CPU.
That's ball 3.
I agree. That's why
3 balls, 1
I put a limit on it. Last year I didn't have trades at all. This year I thought it would be a fun wrinkle to add, and I think it has been fun. But even in the trades that I did make, I would find a trade that the CPU would accept, and then I'd just add even another player with B or A potential from our side to make it a little bit more quote-unquote fair. Honestly, I don't know if there's only one trade that you could really gauge if it was a fleece or not. Like the Nolan Jones and Ethan Salas trade. It's been long enough that you can gauge who won the trade. Nolan Jones was insane for the Padres, man. And Salas, I'm happy with him as our catcher. But dang, Nolan Jones is better than I thought he would be in this franchise. And there you have it. Another scoreless inning pitched here for Gordon Pringle. We get a double here from Thompson. Let's see Rocha. This will be his first at bat, it looks like. Oh man, he's got a funky stance. It's not terrible. It's a little leaned in. And there you have it. Juan Rocha's first ever MLB hits, and it won't be an RBI. Thompson holds at third, but he's swinging on the first pitch. Doesn't take long for him to get on the board. Sack fly there, gets another Rockies run. Pringle now pitching with a 2-run lead. 34 pitches through 2 innings. Probably a little higher than you want if you were trying to go deep into a game. I mean, it's your MLB debut. I don't think you can expect like a perfect game by any means. This one popped up. Easy out there. So far, no hits allowed, right? Just the 1 walk.
Ball inside.
Whitaker 249 here on the season.
Ball 2.
Not bad from a 9-hitter.
3 balls, 1 strike.
Being patient here, getting ahead of the counts. We Pringle's second walk. Walks per 9. Not a thing he struggles with here, and there he allows the hits. It's really his home runs per 9, which is low. Which is what made him maybe a slightly questionable fit with Course. With a rotation that already has had a lot of trouble historically with home runs, adding a pitcher where that's maybe his weakness.
Ball inside.
Risky. Has Dorsey's pitching held up? No, he's not a Cy Young candidate. I think he has the highest whip of our starting rotation. Not that it's bad by any means, but it's certainly not Cy Young candidate. Especially because the Cy Young is so much based off of strikeouts in this game. Dorsey's not a really good strikeout pitcher.
That's a ball.
Like they'll give I've seen them give Cy Young to a pitcher who is way worse. Just because his strikeout numbers were really high. And then a pitcher who had much better ERA, much better whip, but just didn't strike as many people out. Past the diving glove of Thompson, but Murillo able to stop it, but it's back-to-back singles. Sad face. I don't know if we're going to get a Cy Young. We just don't have strikeout pitchers. And the game loves to give the Cy Young to strikeout pitchers. That was the one skill set that I de-emphasized the most here when trying to look for pitchers. Not saying I didn't want strikeout pitchers. It's just if I had to sacrifice something, it's probably going to be strikeouts per 9. Worked out for us in the sim, but definitely gives you long odds to fill the Cy Young candidate.
That's ball 2.
That being said, I think the pitching's been better in this series than I was anticipating. Part of that is just we've had some good pitchers come to the team. Barreto, of course, Dorsey being the chief among them, and now Gordon Pringle can't seem to get an out. Houston's on the board. And we see that with pretty much every pitcher. Like, it goes from having a great outing to all of a sudden you can't get a single out to save your life in like the blink of an eye. It happened pretty much with every single Jose Barreto start in the playoffs. And it's not due to low pitcher clutch. It's just due to the game. I don't know what it is. But in the blink of an eye. And once again, another hit. Is that his 4th consecutive hit given up? At least. I think it's his 4th. Dude cannot buy a break right now. And they're all singles, but geez, getting out, my guy. Not the postseason bullpen pitching. I still don't understand how they were so bad. We're like a top 5 rated bullpen in the league. Yeah, we played like we have a AAA bullpen in the playoffs last year. It was nuts.
One ball, 2 strikes.
This one could be 2, and it is finally. Something goes Pringle's way. It's not like he was allowing like these super hard hits. They were all singles. They were all just barely getting into the gaps. That one did not, though. Oh, home run number 42 on the season, I believe, for Neil Dorsey. All right, 4th inning here for Gordon Pringle.
All ones the count.
Something to do with confidence? Yeah, his confidence is definitely getting shaken. You allow a couple hits in a row, and it shakes up your confidence. I'm not exactly sure how they have it all coded, but I remember a little bit from when I was playing during the Athletics series last year. Confidence certainly plays a role. That was a bit of a miss. Got lucky.
The batter, the designated hitter, Alberto.
Ryan Doe become a fan favorite pretty quickly here in this series, and deservedly so, with how well he played in the playoffs. Maybe not quite the high average season.
Ball, that's
Not that I expected to have a crazy high average this year with his contact numbers. Gave him a shot to be our leadoff man. I don't know if he's gonna. I don't know if Brian Doe's gonna hit leadoff in the playoffs. Might honestly put Kyle Brown back there because he's been hitting a really good average this season. Lopez, that gets down to the wall. 2-out double for Alberto Lopez. First baseman for Houston. First round pick all the way back in 2025.
Ball. Counts 1-0. Ball.
Nice cutter there. Beautiful location there. He's finding that inside edge right now. About to hit 70 pitches. He has 80 stamina. We could probably get to around 90 pitches before stamina becomes a real problem. Melton. Grounder here and through the fourth. He's kept the Astros off the scoreboard in 3 out of 4 innings. Juan Rocha has only seen 1 pitch at the MLB, and he took it for a single. Swing at that one, too. It's lifted to the outfield. Be a pretty deep fly out there. No longer perfect in his career. Nothing doing for the Rockies at all there in the top of the 5th. Could very well be Pringle's last inning here unless he has a really good one. Well, I guess Tyler Whitaker. He was the one that got the hitting streak started last time for Houston.
2 balls, 2 strikes.
Back in the 3rd inning. There you go. Struck him out this time around. Another pitch right there on that inside edge.
The first baseman.
He's been liking that inside edge today. It's been working out for him. Paul Naylor. He's the other first baseman that they drafted. Another guy that I discovered that got poached that same year. Imagine he's playing DH for them.
That's a ball.
If Alberto Lopez is playing first.
No strike.
2-1 pitch here to Naylor.
Ball that side.
Falling behind 3-1 now. Pretty predictable take there. He loves to take those 3-1 pitches. That was a miss over the middle. Not going to have to pay for it. Not the location you want on a full count pitch.
The center fielder, number 28.
Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. That's what they say. It's got that nice lefty-lefty matchup, though, here. And another Pitch maybe with a little bit too much play, but Isbell gets underneath it. We'll see if that's the end. I wouldn't be surprised if Pringles comes out and starts the sixth. I don't know what I would do personally. Hey, Murillo now with a home run. Love a good Murillo home run.
Ball four. Take your base. Out.
Coach is back up. We're going against Jaime Melendez.
The first baseman, number 25.
Rockies now up 6-2. What a sixth inning for this offense. Ooh, Rocha almost turned on a nice pitch there.
One ball, two strikes.
Another one turned to foul here. He's battling.
Yep.
Runner on first. If he hits a really good one, he could pick up his first RBI. That's not going to do it, though. And it looked like he missed there. Maybe a little bit of magnetism, but still just the one hit so far for Rocha. And Gordon Pringle does come out here for the sixth. I respect it. Trying to get him that quality start here in his debut. Pena. Over to Veen. Another one, maybe a little bit. He's starting to get a little lucky here. Maybe a lack of luck in that third inning when all these softly hit balls were sneaking through the infield. But I think the luck has returned back in his favor as the game has gone along. Feels like about 2 runs allowed is now kind of what you'd expect from this caliber performance that I've seen. That was another miss. At least I hope it was a miss. He doesn't quite have strong enough arm to be throwing that far down the middle on purpose. But, I mean, got a swing on that pitch, which you got to respect because that was not close to the zone. Pretty good strikeout stuff from Pringle that I'm seeing right now. Just occasional problem locating. It's kind of the problem with these generated pitchers. There's not a lot of guys that come in with good control. And maybe that's what's been the problem with our series. A lot of these homers are just due to misses due to low control. The game just doesn't really generate kind of like the painter archetype. I think that's maybe a missing archetype in their pitcher. Not saying a guy should come in out of the draft with 80 control, but see a lot of guys in the 30s and 40s, and like getting control in the 50s is like a big win in the amateur draft. We maybe get a guy that's in the 60s, maybe like an elite painter in the low 70s is like a very rare archetype. I think it'd be fun. This one gets over the head of Pringle. 2-out single here on the full count pitch. Pitch count might get up into the hundreds here if we're determined on him finishing the 6th inning here. 94 right now. It's gotten Rosario out twice here though. 14 seasons for Rosario at this point, huh? Pretty deep here into the sim.
That's a ball. 1 ball, 2 strikes to count.
One and two. Let's get one more strikeout here. Pitch number 99. Let's get it for a K. Ooh. Close. That was close. Now that his pitch count's in the hundreds, you got to start worrying. I think if he allows Rosario to reach, you got to think about taking him out here. I know we still have a 4-run lead, but I wouldn't mess with it. He's clearly, yep, there you go. I think this is the right decision. I'd have probably taken him out at the exact same time if I was managing the team. Just starting to lose it a bit. Smeltzer comes in. And there you have it. You're gonna get one more at bat here from one. And I'll wrap up this September 4th game. Rocha is not shy. I like it. He will swing on the first pitch without any shyness whatsoever. Oh boy. Alright, Walsh comes in and finishes off the job after Smeltzer allows a 2-run homer, but the Rockies are victorious here in the debuts for both Rocha and Pringle. Saw homers from Murillo and Dorsey in this game. Rockies did themselves a lot of damage there in the 6th inning. And Houston just couldn't quite ever come back from it. Rockies didn't score since that 6th inning. A 3-for-3 day from Zach Veen as well with a home run. I want to try something. So I want to put... I just want to give Rocha a little run. I want to give him a chance to earn a spot in the playoffs. If he can have a pretty good September here, I'll take it. He's going to play left field for us. We're going to move Zach Veen from left to right, just because he has a little bit better of an arm. And we're going to move Herrera to third, which is where we drafted him to play. -7 contact versus lefties. That's some rough stuff for Herrera. Let's get through September now. See if we get any more exciting. I think we'll sim this hit streak. Murillo, man. I love this team that we've built. I love it. All right. Bases juice with Clutch Herrera on, or I should say at the plate, not on the plate. Let's see what we can get from our guy. 1 out, top of the 8th, down by 1. Going against the Nationals here in Evan Phillips. 11 pitches into his day. Are they booing at that call? That was an easy ball. Whatever. Missed it right over the middle. Herrera cranks it to right and it's fair. That'll be extra bases. The Rockies score 2 runs and the man on first will hold at third. I think that was a wise decision. A 2-run double and he's done it again. Clemente Clutch Herrera continues to earn his nickname. Whenever he has a chance to show out for us, it seems like he does. Not having as good of a contact year as he did in his rookie season, but I don't care. He proved his worth already to us in that last playoff run. Earning that 10-year contract from that postseason run alone. Earning himself postseason MVP for the National League. Had a walk-off hit in there as well. 0 for 3 for Dorsey. Starting to think he's not going to lead the league in batting average, unfortunately. Was hoping we could see triple crown. I don't know. Maybe he's been great in some of these other games. But I've seen too many, like, 0 and 1 hit days from Dorsey, it feels like.
Outside, that's the ball.
That one is high for a full count. Von Rye. Thanks for hopping in. You might not catch up. I don't know. I think we'll still be going a decent bit longer. Dorsey is flying out to the wall. That would have been a massive hit. Still picks up the RBI. Increasing what I'm sure is still the NL lead in that category. And that's the third run since we scored. We scored here in the 8th. Being just foul. Only hitting 224 with runners in scoring position. I do feel like a lot of Vian's damage is when nobody's on the base paths. He hits a lot of solo shots. I'm fine with it. He's hit some in very clutch spots. He did have the first grand slam of the series. I remember that. Way back when, in his MLB debut. Seems like forever ago now. This is like what the... This is what, episode 64 of this? Consider we've done a couple of streams that weren't official episodes. Did a couple of videos that weren't part of the series. This is probably like the 70th straight video I've made on MLB The Show. So Zach Veen's MLB debut seems like forever ago now. Dorsey may be the best player computer has ever generated in a draft class. I mean, you're not wrong. I definitely didn't recognize him as a generational right off the bat. Because I've never seen a two-way generational player before. And that overall gap is a little bit different, right? He starts at a 70. Normally, generational start around an 80. Seeing his secondary positions definitely helps. He's definitely somebody that if we had to do the draft without scouting, I would not have taken it number 1. Even though he has a 99 everything, I haven't seen any pitchers that even become generational. I haven't seen one in this year's game. Last year, I mean, if you watch Mr. Hurricane, Joe Michael, such a good pitcher that he drafted. I also drafted a generational pitcher in last year's game, but he didn't have nearly the career that you would expect from a generational pitcher. I'm kind of hoping, still holding out hope, even though it hasn't been the start of the career that you want for Jose Barreto. I'm holding out the hope that he eventually becomes a dominating pitcher. Rockies win here 6-4. All started with Clemente Herrera doing it again, man. He might be my favorite player in the series because, I mean, I know he's not the best player, That goes to Murillo and Dorsey. Those guys, I love those guys to death. Those are the guys that you expect to be dominant. But Clemente Herrera coming out and being so awesome, being so clutch. It's been one of my favorite storylines. He and Doe kind of breaking out at the same time. Logan Cerny had an 11-game hitting streak. Why? I accidentally turn off injuries at some point. We haven't had a single injury this whole stream. Probably did. Unfortunately, with our loss to Arizona, 100 wins is now off the table. Not going to be a 100-win season. Yeah, this season doesn't go into October. 1 game left. And we win it. Congratulations, the Rockies finished the season at 99-63 and won the division. Taking on the winner of the wild card playoff game. So once again, we don't have to play in the wild card. You'll love to see it. Let's take a look here. First, I want to take a look at standings. So our 99 wins was second in baseball behind the Braves. No surprise there. The Braves are insane. Yeah, Mr. Hurricane lately, his series he's been doing less of like the total complete overhaul teams. It's kind of, I mean, he did last year with the Athletics, of course. He took the complete overhaul team. It just kind of depends because he's been doing it for so long. How many times has he rebuilt like the worst team in the league? You know, so I understand why he's kind of looking to mix it up. I enjoy it. I enjoy pretty much everything he does. All right, 99-63. Let's take a look at stats. We'll look at league leaders and awards later. First, I want to look at stats. So, let's go ahead and go through it. For our team, home runs. We get 2 players with 40-plus home runs this season. That is wild. 47 homers. For Neil Dorsey, goes up 18 in power. Has both power against righties and lefties into the 90s now. Contact as well. This guy is nuts. 21 years old, by the way. What a stud. That is MVP. MVP. I would be shocked beyond imagination. With 149 RBIs too. OPS over 1,000. What is this guy's WAR? 7.9 WAR. I think Murillo actually technically had a higher WAR last season. That's insane. Insane. Neil Dorsey is just a beautiful man. I love myself some Neil Dorsey. Well, let's not understate just how good Murillo was this year. His contact goes down. It was 280, which isn't bad by any means, but this is the worst contact year he's had, tied for the worst contact year he's had in his career. So I get it. He's kind of, maxed out at 98 overall. So stuff has to go down for his power to go up by 9. Vision and discipline had a really good year. He got on base over 40% of the time. You love to see it. Oh no, this was last year. Last year, Murillo was insane. I think if he played more games, he would have been MVP last year over Dorsey. Because Dorsey has played all 162. Both years. The dude does not miss games. Durability's nuts, 99, So we have 2 just absolute megastars on our team, and it is so fun to see. These are easily the 2 best players I've drafted in MLB The Show 24. You could argue they're the 2 best players I've drafted in any series I've had. I mean, way back with my first ever kind of big series with the San Antonio Express, that team was insane. I also had like 100 subscribers on my channel at the time, so not a lot of people know them. But like, since my channel has actually gotten decently sized, I love these guys. All right. Zach Veen, 264, 35 home runs. It's a really good season of development against righties. Career high in home runs. It's actually not a great average season just compared to his previous. His worst since his rookie year. OPS above 800 though for the third straight year. Career high in WAR. Earned himself a 5-year contract last offseason. What's the WAR we get here from? 7.2 WAR from Morello. Absolutely nuts. And then Brian Doe in his rookie season. You got to think this is rookie of the year numbers from Brian Doe. Only a 246 average. Only a 246 average from him, but 27 bombs this year. It's a plus 11 total for power. His contact actually goes down 1 overall, which I get it. It was an experiment putting him at leadoff. I don't think he hits there next year. Just after how good he was in the postseason, I wanted to give it a try this season. Still with a 4.9 WAR as a rookie. I mean, come on. Brian Doe. Hats off to you. Been just an absolute stud. Omar Figueroa ends up with 27 homers. Honestly, probably a little bit of a disappointment based on the pace he was on early on this year. I thought for sure he was going to end up with 30 plus. He had his OPS above 900 for a big portion of the year. Still ends up with a 4.1 more though. Absolutely the bounce back season that you wanted to see from Omar Figueroa. Even though I had Juan Rocha as kind of the replacement in mind. Herrera also kind of got hot as the season went along. Ended up getting a lot of development in his power. Or dropped off a little bit. Yeah, he did a little bit. I mean, average-wise, absolutely. OPS dropped by a full 100 points here. But 26 homers. He was just a different player. Bit of a drop-off for sure. Maybe, he got the bag and he got a little complacent. Ethan Salas does end up actually below 300. He was above 300 for a big portion of the year. Got a lot of development for contact, though. You love to see that. All of his fielding is now in the 90s. He's basically just an elite defender and a good offensive player. He got his OPS, is his career high in OPS. So it was Salas's best year of his career. 6.8 WAR is nice. This offense is just insane. Thompson got replaced down the stretch of the season. He's going to start regressing. He had such a massive power development last year that he overshot his potential, which I think is 86 or 85 probably. Somewhere around there. Again, I don't check. I check at the beginning of the series, and he was like 87. So I imagine it's down to like 86 or 85 now. Back down to 18 homers. He was basically the player he was 2 years ago. And 2 years ago, we were thinking about maybe replacing. Like Herrera getting power boost. Yeah, absolutely. The more power we can get on this lineup, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Salas is almost maxed on defense. Yeah. He's an elite defensive catcher, which that in itself is valuable. Now he's actually starting to contribute a little bit more. Kyle Brown dropped off hard. I was going to give him lead off in the playoffs, but he basically became the player he was last year. He dropped off hard. He was over 300 at the start of this episode. This stream. I've been saying Dorsey is the GOAT forever. Yes, he's been... Dorsey's so flipping good. It's insane. Still at his career high in WAR. He was just a better defender slightly than he has been in the past, I guess. 5 less errors than his previous career low. I'm starting to think Kyle Brown is just a solid player. He's just a solid player. That's what he is. Still has the best clutch on the team. But we all know when we hop into the games, the real guy with the best clutch, Clemente Herrera, baby. Love that man. So it looks like they demoted Juan Rocha. Yep. Oh, that's right. Juan Rocha can't play in the playoffs. I'm an idiot. You have to add them to the 40-man roster on August 31st if you want someone to be eligible for the playoffs. I forgot about that. I screwed up. Because the rule is they have to be on your roster on September 1st, but if you actually put them on September 1st, the game doesn't count it. He didn't hit very well anyway. So, I think he'll come onto the team next year. What he plays, I don't know. Because Figueroa, if Figueroa was as kind of mediocre as he was in the playoffs last year, I'm fine giving Rocha the starting job next year. But if Figueroa continues his strong season into a strong postseason run, I'm not going to have him lose his job just because Rocha has higher potential. I want to do whatever is best for the team next season. You know what I'm saying? Overall, you have to be happy with with what we got from the offense. Our lowest average from our starting players was Brian Doe at 246. He was the only guy who hit below 250 on the entire team. Ironically, our leadoff hitter and our two hitter were our two worst averages. Why in the game and in real life for second baseman always so mid? I don't know. That's true. There's not a lot of like superstar second baseman. So maybe that's how Salazar gets in. Maybe Salazar just eventually replaces Kyle Brown because Salazar, he plays the outfield and second base. Second base and outfield. I feel like second base is a little bit of a waste of his good arm, though. We got to find a way to get Rico Salazar some playing time next season, man. He's too good to have another season down at AAA. He's also close to his ceiling. He's only a B potential guy. Let's take a look at our pitchers now. Utility best or jack of all trades? Yeah, definitely. All right. So in terms of inning pitched, let's sort by this. Unger led us with innings pitched. He had a 3.73 ERA and a 1.37 WHIP in his rookie year. Really good winning percentage. 19 quality starts. He had a 2.5 WAR. Struck out people at a decent rate. Walks per 9 was below 3, which is good. 1.2 home runs per 9 is okay. You really try to get that around 1, so it's a little high, but not terrible. FIP at 409. You're taking that up to an 87 overall. Some really good development across the board. +5s and +3s. You're going to take that. Unger should be Rookie of the Year over Doe. Maybe. If you give him the it's tough to pitching cores boost. I do think 27 homers from Brian Doe is pretty impressive, though. He also had a lot of triples. Brian Doe did. I think it's pretty close. Both players are deserving. Jose Barreto, not very good. His whip would suggest that his ERA is a little bit inflated. I mean, he had the same whip as Unger, who had 1.3 less ERA. The real problem with Barreto this year is he gave up a ton of home runs. 1.76 home runs per 9. Has to be better. And he loses a home run per 9. Deservedly so. He gave up way too much. Now, he's a guy with really high control because he came in the 50s, which is pretty rare. Been a slight disappointment, I'll say, to start the year of Jose Barreto. A guy that you want to be your future ace. You want him to be better to start his career. Basically a league average pitcher who one win above replacement level. He's a replacement level pitcher for a guy who's 87 overall. I don't think we can give him the long-term contract. He hasn't earned it yet. And I learned with Solace, I need to see it. I'm not going to project somebody to earn their 10 or 15-year contract. I need to see it first. Salazar can come in if a player drops off. I think I would keep him at right field because Herrera actually plays third. Your starting pitchers in the St. Louis are getting shelled regardless of overalls. It's happened. My bullpen played like a AAA bullpen despite being a top 5 bullpen last year. It's just, I don't know, the way things go. Maybe it's my sliders. Who knows? Chase Dollander here, 90 overall, 3.77 ERA, 1.32 WHIP. He's just become the model of consistency. His last 3 full years, 1.32 WHIP, 1.35 WHIP, 1.35 WHIP, 3.94, 3.73, 3.77, 3.5 or 3, 2.6. He's going to strike out 8.5 to 9 guys per 9 and get somewhere in the low 3s walks per 9, somewhere in the low 1s home runs per 9. So he's going to be like the next generation Smeltzer, where he's not an elite pitcher, but you know you're getting solid pitching from Chase Dollander every single year. Let's talk about Dorsey. A little bit high on the ERA, but a high 1.3s WHIP is okay. That's kind of the baseline, where if you're at this part, I'm okay. If you're getting into the 1.4s and higher, you want it to be lower. But the 1.3s is okay. 16 quality starts from him. 2.4 WAR. Doesn't strike a ton of people out. Walks at a decent rate, but less than 1 home run per 9. He did excellent at limiting home runs per 9 and gets +6 home runs per 9 on his rating because of it. You love to see it. Not like Cy Young numbers or anything, but when you're getting the guy who's out there hitting 322 with 47 homers, and then he's out there doing some good work on the mound as well, I mean, shoot. You can't ask for more than that. Herb Reyes, excellent at limiting walks. That's why his walks per 9 is in the 90s. What else does he do for you? I don't know. Which is why I'm worried about him getting run in the playoffs. I might give him some run to start, but he's definitely going to have a shorter leash than he did last year. I'm not going to wait till the World Series to bench him. Robbie Barreto traded for him, broke a rule just to get this guy in on the team, and now he has hits and walks per 9 both in the 90s. My goodness, pitched 97 innings for us. Pretty heavily utilized in that long relief role. 3.33 ERA, 1.06 WHIP. I mean, my goodness. I'm excited to see this guy pitch in the playoffs. Actually, haven't seen him pitch yet. Really good at limiting home runs. Good at limiting walks. Decently high strikeout. He's probably the most well-rounded guy that we have. Does Dorsey being an 87 due to being a two-way player mean he just hitting stats? Yes. So he's a 99 overall. He has a 99 potential. He might be 98 or something at this point. I don't know why it would have gone down though. And that's because like this is an 87 overall pitcher, right? His overall is what he is as a pitcher. But his hitting stats can continue to go up. I mean, there's not that much they can go up at this point. They're all in the 90s. His play skills can continue to go up. But until he hits 99 potential, because like if you put these ratings into a first baseman, that guy's 99 overall. He just is. But because he's only 87 overall in the game, he can continue to improve, which is just an extra bonus for getting a two-way player, is that they can be like those Diamond Dynasty cards that are like 110 overall or something. I don't know. I don't play Diamond Dynasty. Jimmy Blanco was our other long reliever this year and really solid. Again, a mid 1.3 whip led to a pretty good ERA for him. He struck out a decent amount. I mean, in the 8s is about as good as you're going to get with this team. 0.38 home runs per 9. I mean, this is coming from the guy who was allowing home runs left and right in the playoffs last year. So a massive development, plus 8 home runs per 9. Now up to 84. He has 3 of his 4 per 9s in the 80s now. This guy should be an awesome pitcher. Hoping that he could be one of the big rebound guys compared to how he pitched last year in the playoffs. Again, I think the game kind of screwed him over because I thought he was an 81 overall player in the playoffs last year, and the game made him look like a 60 overall. That's just kind of the way it is with the bullpen sometimes. So, Kopech, we did an experiment. Didn't love him as a pitcher, tried him in the bullpen, and I think it worked out for us pretty well. 4.20 ERA isn't, amazing by any means, but only a 1.13 whip is awesome. And I'm excited to see him in the bullpen as well. I think, I hope at least a lot of the innings in our bullpen go to Barreto, go to Blanco, go to Kopech. And I think if that's the case, our bullpen's going to be much improved in the postseason over what it was last year. And saw Frank here, who's a Rule 5 pick, wanted to get a lefty into the bullpen. Very well-rounded ratings here, a lot in the high 60s and low 70s. Obviously a big drop-off ratings-wise, but not so much production-wise from him. He's not a strikeout guy. He did not strike out anybody. He did not allow a home run this year. Let's go. Mario Lozano allowed home runs, but that was pretty much all he allowed. Looking like 1.18 whip. Love to see it. Ramirez played the entire year at AAA, but they put him on our playoff roster for some reason. Johnny Brennan, the same thing. Cole McCracken, the same. What is this game doing? Get rid of Herb Reyes in postseason. I don't think he's going to play. I think he's going to be in our 5th starter spot. And we'll just do a 4-man rotation. Pretty much what we did in the World Series last year. So they took away Brett Martin. Let's see what he did for us. 3.63 ERA, 1.21 whip. All right, I got to do some stuff. Why did they put him on the playoff roster? This game's so dumb. I had this guy on the Major League roster all season long. Did the same with Devin Smelter. What a dumb game. These guys are not playing MLB baseball for us this year. All right. At least it would in the postseason doesn't use options or anything. So that's something. But all right, so let's look at Smelter. 1.28 ERA. I mean, the same Smelter we know and love. Same guy. He actually improved, I think. I think he was regressing as a starting pitcher, but we moved into the bullpen and his ratings went back up. Big brain moves over here. Big brain moves. He was definitely going to regress if we kept him at a starting pitcher. Dude, and it irritates me. Yeah, I don't know why they automatically update your playoff roster. I get they have to make it from 28 to 26 again because it goes from September where it's 28. But too much editing. So Pringle is ineligible, unfortunately. He ended up with a 1.63 whip, so wasn't great in September, unfortunately, for us. So, all right, let's do league leaders. Dorsey leads the league in home runs. Dorsey leads the league in RBIs. Dorsey leads in slugging percentage. Dorsey leads in OPS. Does not win batting average by .002. He's going to miss the Triple Crown by .002. How many ABs did this SOB get? 620. Yeah, that's a good enough sample size. Oh my gosh. Misses Triple Crown by .002 to a division rival. Man, what a season of development for Morales. He had 35 bombs too? Jeez. Who is this guy? He's a flipping beast. I mean, I know who he is. We've seen him before. 99 discipline now too. How many walks did he draw? He almost had more walks than strikeouts. This guy's a beast. This guy's... I mean, between Morales and Jason Lindsay, I mean, the Giants got themselves like... Oh, whoops. What did I just do? Jason Lindsay also... Look at this outfield for the Giants. My gosh. Lindsay had 22 homers. Look at those plate skills. I still really wish we had Lindsay on this team. Especially now with Barreto starting to kind of choke it up a little bit. Trade or raise for Morales. Giants would say no. Where do we start Morales? This good dude can't play defense worth a lick. But with how good he is offensively, yeah. I don't care about that. My gosh, Morales. So the top 4 batting averages are all players that have been drafted in this series. That's kind of fun. Corbin Carroll's the top guy who's actually a real life player. And we have Brian Dowse. We don't need Lindsay. And then we drafted Richie James last year. We haven't looked at Richie James. I kind of want to see where Richie James is at in his development. These are his playoff stats. I forgot to stop the stream and look at everybody's minor league stats this year, unfortunately. Ended up losing 1 contact versus left, but gained 6 versus right. I'd probably take that trade-off. Really good year of developing his plate skills. He's got future leadoff hitter in him. That's right. Like, I'm sitting here trying to find a place for Rico Salazar, and we still got Richie James in the pipeline too. Crazy. All right. Let's keep it going. Doubles, it's Corbin Carroll. Triples, it's Jason Lindsay. And the Giants have a really fun outfield. And then, of course, we knew Neil Dorsey was the leader in home runs. Got Morello here at 5th as well. And Dorsey was the leader overall. RBI is 149. He actually started to slow down at the end. I think he had 100, close to that, like with a couple weeks to go, didn't he? Or am I misremembering? I very well could be. James at second base. Salazar at right field. Herrera at third base. And then Rocha at first base. Yeah, we'll see if Figueroa can keep up what he did this year in the future years. It's been kind of inconsistent. Stolen bases, Ellie De La Cruz. Oh, yeah, and the Diamond... Our division kind of going wild. The Diamondbacks are going wild in free agency, and now the Giants draft picks are starting to go wild. Drew 107 walks. What a flippin' beast. Jazz Chisholm also had a .616 slugging percentage. Nice. We had a 20-win season from Brady Singer. Oh, the Braves. I can't wait to play the Braves again. Okay. Saves. 54. What's up with this Giants team? A 75 overall, 34-year-old guy. It was a 91-mile-an-hour sinker and 82-mile-an-hour slider. Hey, you don't need a 61 saves for Joe Barlow. My goodness. No one under a 3 ERA in the National League. Got a little cold near the end for sure. We're talking about, Dorsey with his RBIs. He definitely got a little cold with the RBIs at the end. Incredible job building this team. Hey, that's the benefit of a draft-only franchise. You get like a top 5 pick for like the first 5 or 6 years of your series, and it's great. We luckily took advantage of it for the most most part, I think. Ryan Bello. And awards. Hank Aaron. He did not win MVP. Oh, he did. Oh. It just doesn't show it all on the same screen. I was like, Neil Dorsey didn't win MVP. So, your NL MVP for the second consecutive year, it is only 2 years as a MLB player, is Neil Dorsey. No surprise there. An insane season offensively. Follow that up with a really solid pitching year, and you're going to get yourself an MVP award here. Cy Young goes to Bobby Miller. We played against him on opening day, and he was really good. Batting title goes to the insane player that is Salvatore Morales. Steve Cruz wins Rookie of the Year over Brian Doe and James Unger. Okay, what's the argument here? Just more RBIs than Brian Doe, I suppose. Yeah, I did see that Dorsey was also top 5 for home runs allowed. Kind of went over that in his stats. He had a little less than 1 home run per 9 allowed. But yes, as a Rockies pitcher, that's especially impressive. So neither of our players won Rookie of the Year. It's really the RBIs that gave to Cruz over Doe. They had the same home runs. Doe had the better average. I'm sure Doe had like more triples and stuff. 9 triples, 30 doubles, 21 doubles, 1 triple here. It's all the RBIs. That's really all it is. Doe had twice as many steals. If you look at WAR, it's 4.9 versus a negative WAR. Come on! 4.9 WAR versus a negative WAR. Oh, we're definitely doing a long-term sim whenever I end it. That's not even a question. Yeah, they value RBIs a ton for hitters, and they value strikeouts a ton for pitchers. That's just the way that it is. Probably a little bit too much for both. This is how. Robbery! This will not stand. In 2K, you can override awards. I don't know if this is override worthy because RBIs are important, but I think Doe was better. I think Unger is better. You could have made the argument either one for me here. That is unfortunate. Murillo not even in the top 3 here. I mean, I get it. His average wasn't high enough this year. So we got gold glove here in Ethan Salas. Congrats to him. Well deserved. He's an excellent. He had no errors. Love to see it. 3rd place here, Sterling Thompson. We got Silver Slugger DH. No surprise there for Neil Dorsey. 2nd place for Ethan Salas. Hey. Rafael Murillo, Silver Slugger shortstop. Well deserved. Really awesome season. It's been a while since we've looked at his numbers, so I just want to look at it again. 955 OPS, 280 average, over 100 RBIs, 42 home runs. I mean, power-wise and RBI-wise, just as good as last year. He just didn't quite have the average. That's really the difference between MVP candidate last year and just awesome Silver Slugger season this year. It'll be Chisholm, Carroll, and Fletcher in the outfield. Jason Lindsay and Ronald Acuna just behind them. Acuna, a little bit of a drop-off. I guess actually that's kind of been who he's been for the last couple of seasons, power-wise. But this was his first year under 900 OPS in a couple of years. overall, a really, really, really fun team. I think the last thing I want to do for the baseball portion before I do want to end off the stream by talking about college football 25 for a little bit, but I want to see who we're playing in the playoffs. It's going to be the Chicago Cubs that we'll be facing off in the playoffs here. Let's take a look at the team that we'll be facing off against. Last year was the Cubs versus the Cardinals. The Cardinals won. Evan Carter at 97 overall. Okay. That's going to be a tough guy to face. He's really, really good. He must have been terrible at stealing. -8 stealing. And it was by far his lowest stolen bases in forever. That's gross. Nick Lodolo, really solid lefty pitcher. Hey, this team crushes lefties, so good luck to you, Nick. Christopher Morel, so a pretty big drop-off. Only 2 guys in the 90s, all the way down to 87. What an arm here for Morel, though. Jeez. Utility player. Getting pretty old. Actually, no, he's not. He's 30. He just regressed for kicks and giggles. He's already met his potential, I suppose. Although his potential's A, so I don't know why he went down so much. 20 home runs, 270 average. Not awful. I don't know. Michael Bush, 86 overall. Solid. Nico Horner, really good contact versus lefties. We don't really pitch that many lefties. So if you look at the rotation, I'll be pretty solid throughout. One really good guy and then a bunch of like solid pitchers. They don't have the incredible closer. Catcher's not very good. That's really their only weakness offensively. Pretty well-rounded team, but I think we have the star power. They have Evan Carter. We, of course, have Neil Dorsey and Rafael Murillo. Oh, he's a 99 overall now? What happened? All of a sudden he has plus 12. Everybody's rating has just changed. Because we got to the month of October. So all those ratings that I just showed you, none of them are real. Sweet. I want to see what his are now. Oh, whoops. Even better. You'll love to see it. He's a 99 overall. The first 99 of the series. Let's go. So if you don't care about me talking about college football 25, that's going to wrap up the MLB The Show portion of the stream. Thanks for coming out. But I just want to spend a few minutes before we end the stream talking about college football 25 because I'm incredibly, incredibly excited for the game that comes out a week from today. Oh, I am so excited. But I have had a very, very tough time picking who I want to rebuild in that game. I think for me, I knew like a month before the game came out that I was going to build the Rockies in this game. I knew what kind of rebuild I wanted to do, and I was just so sure of it. But even though I'm a week out, I still have pretty much no idea what I'm going to do. And so I want to show you guys a little something here. Here is what I tentatively have as my... I'm going to turn the music back on since we're not doing any gameplay here, and it's just me talking now. Tentatively have is my top 4. Although I gotta be honest with you, there's a decent chance that the team I end up rebuilding isn't even on this list. But I just kind of want to talk and maybe get some thoughts from you guys as well. And this isn't necessarily in order. This is just in order of how I thought about them. Number 1 is Kennesaw State. I've done a little pros and cons list here. Let me make this a little bit bigger. So they're probably the worst team in the game. That's a big plus. You know, I like to kind of build these up from nothing, kind of with these draft-only rebuilds. There's not really the equivalent of a draft-only rebuild in college football. Maybe you could do a no transfers rebuild where you don't accept any transfers. That could probably be the closest you get to like a draft-only, a recruiting-only rebuild. which is kind of like what it was in previous games, right? The transfer portal wasn't that big of a deal in like college football 14, or I played 13. I liked the recruiting a lot better in 13, so I just never really played that much of 14. I know 14 is played a lot by many, but recruiting is the whole point of the game for me, so I know I liked it better in 13. I like Kennesaw State's uniforms. I think they're pretty good. I don't think they're incredible. You can kind of tell how much I like or dislike something. I put anywhere between 1 and 3 pluses based on how much of a factor I thought it was. I think competing with Georgia, like the recruiting powerhouse, top 5 recruiting powerhouse in the nation at least, could be really fun. Starting in a terrible conference, I view as a slight plus. Having to eventually work your way up to a Power 4 conference. Newest team in the FBS is kind of their storyline. The negative for me, and the only reason I haven't pretty much already committed to Kennesaw State, their stadium is terrible. I think it's the smallest stadium in the entire country. For FBS, at least. You know, there's probably some FCS schools that have smaller stadiums, but because they just barely came from the FCS, their stadium is terrible. And yeah, that's okay at the start of a rebuild, but if I eventually go into the SEC or something, I don't want a stadium that has 10,000 fans when I'm going in a conference where every other stadium has like 100,000 fans, you know? So I also think they're going to be a pretty popular choice, and I want to give people a reason to watch my rebuilds over somebody else's. I know a lot of you guys will watch my rebuilds because you're familiar with me, but with a new game, you want to attract a lot of new viewers. And if there's like 6 channels doing a Kennesaw State rebuild, maybe not as many people will find my channel. So these are the 2 reasons I maybe wouldn't want to do Kennesaw State, but they're probably the hardest rebuild in the game. That's why they're going to be popular. And I love these very hard rebuilds. On the very, very opposite end of the spectrum is Florida. And I know a lot of time kind of in these deep dives that they've been releasing was spent on like sights and sounds. They put so much work into it, and Florida has been heavily represented in those. And so you're going to get, you know, a lot of the stadium atmosphere, a lot of the time that they put into making all these colleges unique. Florida is going to be really fun in that way. You know, you're going to have the chomps, you're going to have everybody in the pregame touching the gator, all this stuff. And I do find the appeal in that, you know, if it's such a big part of what they've been focusing on the game, I want to do a team that has that. Now, all of these teams have it. They even showed in the Sights and Sounds video that Kennesaw State has it, but Florida State's, I think, is just going to be a little bit more well represented. I think the storyline for this team is just kind of trying to restore them to the dominant past. And I like their uniforms a decent bit. I only give a 1+ here. I don't think they're incredible. The big negative is that they're they are the easiest rebuild on this list. And how much do I want to do that? I've been struggling. Do I want to do the rebuild that's going to take me like a full decade before they're good? I don't know if I want to do that for my first time playing the game in a decade plus, you know, or do I want the one that this may be a little bit too easy? Because with Florida, this is like the only team here that is already kind of dominant over a region. I think in the Dynasty Deep Dive, they even said specifically that Florida is going to be really heavily have heavy control over like the Central Florida pipeline. So that just is going to make it a little bit easy, maybe too easy. Maybe it won't take as long as I want it to. But part of me really likes Florida. If you're doing something without recruiting, I don't think I'm going to do something without recruiting. Recruiting is my favorite part of the game. If I'm going to do anything to do a house rule, I'd be no accepting transfers. Because I'm pretty sure you can reject transfers. You can't reject people leaving your team for transfers, and I wouldn't do that. That increases difficulty. But I think you have a chance to say, no, you're not coming to our team, which I would do. So, but if you like Florida, if you like going to the SEC, but you want a harder rebuild, You got Vanderbilt, of course. They too are in the SEC, and they have a harder path than Florida. It's been 100 years since they won the SEC, which is kind of crazy. 1923 was the last time they won the SEC. They might be the worst. They're the worst team in the conference for sure. They might be the worst team in the Power Four. I don't watch a ton of college football, so that might be like totally untrue. So don't like hold me accountable to that. But they're definitely the worst team in the SEC. And you know, from Nashville, you're competing with Tennessee. I just don't like their uniforms. They're the only team of these four that I don't really care for their uniforms. And recruiting in Tennessee just isn't as fun as recruiting in Florida or recruiting in Georgia. It's not like a bad state to recruit in necessarily. The other one is kind of being let me do something here real quick. Let me unlock this. There you go. They'll have high academic prestige and conference prestige. Yeah, that'll make recruiting better. It's just, you know, Tennessee won't have as good of recruiting as like Florida and Georgia, which does increase difficulty again. I like BYU mostly for they have like this, you know, BYU's known famously for being a church that's associated with the Mormon church. And so they have this really strict honor code, and you could kind of play that into a series. Like my idea, if I were to choose BYU, would be like a spin the wheel. I'm like, are you going to lose players to the honor code? And you can have maybe 12 slots on the wheel, 6 of them, or you don't lose anybody. A couple of slots where you lose 1 player, a couple of slots where you lose 2 players. You could even lose 3 players in a season all to the honor code. So I think that adds just like a fun wrinkle. I also like their uniforms. I also think their stadium is well located. They're in a Power 4 conference. They're not the bottom team, but they're towards the bottom. And you have a bigger school in your state that you're competing with, which is a pretty big deal for me. UTSA plays. Yeah, I played UTSA a lot in NCAA 13. And I know Mr. Hurricane, his most recent college deals. That's the only reason I'm not really considering them. The team I am considering in Texas, if you could see kind of right here, I have a just missed the cut. And again, I'm not even ruling these teams out. I made like a top 4 teams. I'm not even sure I'm going to choose from them. I had Colorado in my top 4 until I learned how much this game favors them. They have them as one of the 28 best teams in college football, which just is not true. Once I learned how good they were rating Colorado, I kind of took them out of consideration. They were in that BYU spot because I kind of like doing a bottom tier team from the Big 12. Colorado's on the list, BYU is on the list, and then Houston. Houston I have pretty much tied with BYU. They have like those Oilers style uniforms that are so beautiful. And of course you get to recruit in Texas. Ultimately, I just put BYU on the list because I think the honor code storyline is kind of cool and makes it, I think, the most unique out of these. Kind of playing with like a little house rule that you add to make it more difficult. I also really like FIU because you get to recruit in a big state and you're competing with Florida. South Carolina was requested, and I think it's a solid option. I just think I like other SEC options more. App State, I think it's cool. They have another really beautiful stadium. And they have kind of like that giant killer reputation. They've had a couple of really big upsets that you could kind of try to push forward in your type of rebuild. James Madison's another really new team, and I like their jerseys, the purple and gold. UNLV, I think, kind of taking over Nevada, maybe a slightly untapped state. College football wise, UCLA, another kind of storied college, moving to a new conference with the Pac being dissolved. These are all teams, and I could go even more than this. There's so many good teams, but there's not like the perfect team. That's what's making me take so long to decide. Like with Colorado, going back to what we're doing, like Colorado Rockies were the perfect team. They had every single thing that I was looking for in my MLB The Show 24 franchise. They had everything. They were perfect. And I feel like there's 20 teams in college football that are like a solid B+ or A- rebuild. But nobody's like this is the perfect rebuild style for me. And part of it's because I don't exactly know what kind of style I want. But Darrington Evans is an NFL running back that went to App State. Streamed them last year with NCAA 14. Nice. UMass. This is my. I just needed to air out my thoughts because I have honestly put so many hours into trying to decide, because I want to start working on like my episode 0 introductory episode. But to do that, I have to decide who I'm doing. And I just can't. And we're a week out. It's crazy. What I think I'm going to do is I think I'm going to create a poll. In fact, I'm probably going to do that right now. Look, let's do this right now. What team should I use in college football 25? You guys are seeing the magic right now. All right. Let's do this right here, right now. I'm not gonna commit. Like a lot of the times when I've done polls in the past, whatever wins is what I do. I let you guys decide. I'm not gonna commit to 100% doing this either, but I do want to hear your thoughts. There you go. Go ahead and vote. We're about to end this stream. I've kind of said pretty much everything I want to say. The only other thing that I'm still kind of having some trouble is I don't know if I'm going to play the game or if I'm going to watch a CPU versus CPU. I think a lot of it depends on if the CPU versus CPU gameplay is good, because that's not a guarantee. Madden 23's CPU versus CPU gameplay was terrible. The first ever video that I posted on YouTube, it's now been deleted, was a CPU versus CPU Bears franchise on Madden 23. I couldn't keep going with that crap. The gameplay was so awful. But in Madden 22, I really like the CPU versus CPU gameplay. In Madden 24, I really like the CPU versus CPU gameplay. Obviously, I've become much more known for my CPU versus CPU gameplay on this channel. That's mostly just because I think it's more fun. It's not like I'm married to the idea, and I don't see, gameplay as being a fun way to do it. It's just, I think, when you do CPU versus CPU, it just kind of takes away the aspect of how good you are at the game and just makes it solely about building the team. But there are a lot of cool features, I feel like, in the gameplay for NCAA, and I just don't know if how much of that you're going to lose doing CPU versus CPU, So likely what I'm going to do is to start out, I'm going to hop into the game. I'm just going to do like play now. I'm going to watch a couple of CPU versus CPU games. Might even do that on live stream, like right when it drops if I can. Yeah, that's part of my plan. I don't know if I'll do it live or not, or if I'll just have the first video I do on College Football 25 just be episode 1 of my whatever team I decide to rebuild. But let me know, vote, make a case if you don't think it should be any of these 4 teams. I'm still open. Yes, this is my top 4. I still say there's probably a 20% chance that the team I do is not even in my top 4. I loved a lot of the things that were said in the college football deep dive. If there's one thing that I wish was in the game, though, in Dynasty mode that they didn't mention, or sure, stadium builder. Yes, you could do a creative team, and just like replicate Kennesaw State with a bigger stadium. Unfortunately, you can only do create a team from what I read at the beginning of the dynasty. So, and I kind of like the idea of starting with the 10K stadium, you know, starting from the bottom and then getting a better stadium as you go along, which I just don't think that's going to be possible in the game. Maybe it is. Do you guys want to see, you know, the starting from the bottom rebuild? Do you want to see maybe a more storied franchise? I think all these options are very different types of rebuilds, and I'm interested in all of them. That's the problem. When a game takes a decade to come out, you get there's a lot of things you want to do. That's just kind of been my problem with it. But I think I aired out all of my thoughts. Thank you all for listening, and thank you all for participating in chat. That's what makes streaming fun, is be able to interact with you guys in real time, react to things that are happening in real time as well. But that's all I've got. Thanks for coming out, and we'll be back to start the playoffs sometime soon. I just kind of figured out how I want to pace the playoffs here going forward in this Rockies series. We're not even close to being done. I imagine this series will not be done by the time college football 25 comes out. I'm like 99% sure. It would have to be something crazy to change my mind, but I will be doing probably a week off of this series when that game comes out, so I can focus on the new game and try to build up my channel and get new engagement as much as I can. But so just be prepared for that. You'll see about a week off, but that does not mean the series will end. It definitely won't be. But thank you all for hanging out with me in the stream, and I'll catch you again soon.